Welcome to the first video in my series about making tiled procedural images using Blender for use in Resonite. In this video, I'll show you how to set up your procedural textures so that they tile. Please see the video description for my references, and be sure to check out these amazing artists. We'll start with the basic general startup file in Blender. Now the first thing that we'll do is add Node Wrangler, an add-on that'll be useful for managing the nodes of our textures later. Go to Edit, Preferences, start typing in the word Node. Make sure that Node Wrangler is checked. Next, we'll set up the lighting so that it's closer to the lighting setup in a default grid world in Resonite, as if we were working on our object in a default world with the sun on our left. Select the light, set location to -8.15, Y to 0, and X to 1. In the light properties, set the exposure to 2.5, the radius to 12, and uncheck soft fall off. Select render properties and change the render engine to cycles to give us access to bake. I will move the Bake tab up a bit to make it easier to access later. You can use GPU compute if you have it. Set the viewport max samples to 256, which is more than enough for checking how your texture might appear in Resonite, and the render max samples to 10, which will speed up texture baking later. Now we can set up our object. You won't need the cube, so delete it. Add a plane by selecting Add Mesh Plane. To be tidy, I'm changing the name of the plane. Select Materials, click on New to create a new material, and rename it. Pressing 7 on the number pad gives you an overhead view. Press Shift-D to duplicate the plane and immediately click without moving the mouse to place the new plane without moving it. You can rename it if you like. In Object Properties, change the X location to 2. Shift-D and click to duplicate this plane, and rename it if you like. Change the Y of the location of this plane to 2. Do one more duplication and change the location's X setting to 0. These planes will let you see if your textures are tiling properly. Switch to shading. Press numpad 0 to reset the camera angle and adjust the objects so that you can see them well. Because they're all using the same material, changing the material on one changes the material for all of them. I'm moving the nodes to free up some space. With the principal BSDF node selected, hit Ctrl-T to get coordinate and mapping nodes. You can delete the image texture, as we don't need it. Make sure that the UV output of the texture coordinate node is going into the vector input of the mapping node. Press Shift-A to bring up a search bar. Start typing in Separate for the Separate XYZ node. Connect the output of the mapping node to the input of Separate XYZ. We won't be using the Z-axis because this is a 2D texture. Press Shift-A to bring up the search bar and start typing in Multiply for the Converter Math Multiply node. Shift-A again and start typing value for the input value node. Right-click on the value node, select Rename. Rename this to tau. In the input field, type the word tau and hit Enter. Blender will fill in the constant for you. Connect this value into the lower value input of the multiply node, and connect the x into the upper value input of the multiply node. Close up the multiply node. Then select Ctrl-Shift-D to duplicate the node with its original connections, and plug in Y to the top input. Shift-A to search, start typing in sine for the converter math sine node. Plug the top multiply output into this and close it up. Shift-A again and start typing cosine. Select the converter math cosine node, plug the top multiply input into this one and close it up. Hold down the Shift key and select both of these, and press Shift-D without the control to copy these without their original connections. Plug the bottom multiply output into these two new nodes. Select the top multiply node and Shift-select the tau node, then Shift-D to duplicate these two and move them to the right. Right-click on tau, rename this to scale, and change the value to 1. This gives you the option to modify the finished texture scale. Connect the output of this node into the multiply node. Select the multiply node. Ctrl-Shift-D to duplicate with connections. Connect the first cosine output into the top of the new multiply node. Select both of these nodes and Ctrl-Shift duplicate. Now connect the second sine node into the third multiply node and the second cosine into the fourth multiply node. I'm selecting the principal BSDF and material output to move them over a little bit, to give myself a little bit more space. Shift-A, and then start typing combine for the combine XYZ node. Plug the output of your multiply nodes into the X, Y, and Z starting from the top. You will not connect the bottom multiply node. I'm moving this over underneath the combine XYZ node. Select all of the nodes except for principled BSDF and material output and press F to create a frame. I'll rename this to tiling setup. Rearrange things to leave a little more space between your setup and the principal BSDF node. We're done at this point, but to see how this works, we'll add a noise texture. Shift-A, start typing noise, and select a noise texture. Hook up the factor output of the noise texture to the base color of your principled BSDF. You'll see that it's not tiling neatly. You can see the edges of each quad. Change the dimensions of the noise texture from 3D to 4D. Plug the output of the combine XYZ into the vector input of the noise texture and the output of the last multiply node into the W of the noise texture. Change the scale to 1, which will bring you closer to how the texture looked originally. Now you can see that your noise texture is tiling nicely, no edges. Save your file as procedural texture setup.blend or procedural texture template.blend or whatever you like, and you'll have a template to use from now on. In the next video of this series, I'll show you how to use your template to make a rusted metal texture, so please keep an eye on my channel for updates. And if you're interested in the math of how this works, please see the video description for a link to the original video I found that taught me how to do this. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you soon in Resonite.